Wednesday, March 26th, and it's time for Little Warriors Weekly, a co-stream with our very good friend Cyrus Saatsaz over on Golden Days. Of course, welcome back to the Plus. If that's where you're watching, make sure you like and subscribe to both channels if you would, please. Cyrus, the Warriors are 0-2 since the tailbone herd around the world got bruised. And I got to tell you, these have been absolutely unimpressive defeats with very little to circle of being bright spots. Way too many regressions to bad habits when Steph Curry's not on the court. And I do not like what I've seen out of the Warriors the last two games.
I'm shocked to hear that, Damon. What's going on in the last two games? Enlighten me, please, on what's going on in the last two games. I have no idea what you're talking about, sir. Great to see everybody. Good morning to you, sir, and the Damon Bruce Plus audience. By the way, Damon, you reached 30,000 subscribers. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you very, very much, man. I appreciate it.
That deserves some accolades. That's very impressive. You're welcome.
You'll be there in no time. You'll be there in no time.
Yeah, I doubt that. You know what I'm realizing? It's the NBA. Like I'm not. This is me. I mean, no disrespect saying this. Please don't take it as such. The NFL has such a bigger audience than the NBA, and a lot of your audience or a lot of your coverage is Niners. And this is where I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Is that correct?
No disrespect taken. It's the NFL is without a doubt the biggest pond of sports content creation to be swimming around in. You could even say it graduated past pond. It's an ocean. The NBA is a lake compared to the ocean of NBA content.
And what's set, and this is where this is an admittance for me that of naivety, and that I've always held this, I guess, denial, contrary to what the numbers and the reports say in regards to the popularity of the NBA in contrast to the NFL, until you get into the business yourself. At least for me, it was hard to believe. Now that I'm in the business and I'm well in it, it's a harsh reality that I'm seeing in front of me. And so all I'm trying to say is, like, 30. If I reach 30,000, I know there are plenty of NBA content creators who have reached that. I'm not disparaging them at all. I'm part of this is just me. I'm new. I'm growing. I came out of nowhere to a lot of people just a few years ago, even though I've been in this business for like 25 years. So I get it. But the NFL, man, it's just I am seeing it now behind the scenes with my own personal experience. The NFL is huge, brother. So and you're in a massively muddled field, dude. It media proliferation in terms of NFL content is at an all-time high without question. And for you to hit 30,000 subs in that competitive market, bravo.
Well, thanks, man. I do. I really appreciate it. The way that I look at it is simply this. Compared to the big boys, we're all these tiny little boutique stores. We can never, by design, be as big as the big boys. But if I can have the same people coming back to my little boutique over and over, and it's their favorite place to shop, that's all I need. I didn't need to be Walmart. I just wanted to open up my own little store, doing it my way. And I know you are the same kind of guy, and that's the way you're doing it. And that's why I think our coverage of the situation is good and valuable and honest. And it's not paid for by, contractual agreements between two entities that have to be business partners. And there is something to be said for independent journalism. Now, independent journalism is a great way to also say amateur hour hack. There's a lot of that you have to sit through. But if you sift through all of that and find a couple people who really care, really know, I think that's the real value of all of this. So,
and look, we're both veterans of the corporate side of things. It's not like we came literally out of nowhere. As
would say, we are both battered performers.
Still going strong, though, brother. And again, the fact that right now this is such a crazy battle that most people probably don't give two shits about in the audience. But the point is, 30,000, man. Congratulations again, and thank you for the acknowledgement. Look, contrary to what people may or may not believe about Golden Days, where we've gone past 4,000, we're now striving for 5,000 subs. That might seem small to some people, but if you actually get into this YouTube thing, it's a challenge to get one. And so thank you to our audience. Thank you. And again, congratulations to you, brother, because none of these numbers are easy to achieve. And 30,000, that's a big number, dude. That's Chase Center plus a minor league baseball stadium. Congratulations. That's
it's a Warriors game and an A's game. All put
so, on a good night. On a good night.
Yeah. Look, to the topic at hand, and thank you very much for the compliments. The Warriors have given us an awful lot of reasons to believe over the last handful of weeks. But in the last couple of games, man, there are way too many reasons to doubt them as well, right? I mean, there's one thing that you want to be when you're playing the Golden State Warriors. Longer, taller teams are going to be a problem. Bam Adebayo should not be the best player on the court. Last night he was. The Warriors had no real physical counter for him. Looney did the best he could. Draymond came out there and gave it the old college try. I think they even slapped like Guy Santos and went and post on him for a little while. None of that really worked. And it was unfortunately a game in Miami where, the Heat got to feel great. Because they didn't just beat the Warriors. They beat the Warriors and they straight up made Jimmy Butler look like a non-factor. Like they all got to feel really good that Jimmy can only leave town with his tail between his legs. Like enjoy your money in your new team. But when it comes back, coming into Miami and showing us who's boss, you just got run off the court, you bitch. Like, I mean, I'm sorry. Like Jimmy Butler's all about that tough talk. I'm a real one. Not in Miami, he wasn't. Not in Miami. Jimmy, there's a reason why there are great NBA players, and then Jimmy Butler is in the level just right underneath them.
In the regular season, agreed. Yeah.
In all seasons. Jimmy's never won shit.
Dude, he took that Miami team twice to the NBA Finals. I can't ignore that. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like that.
Win them. You gotta win it. You gotta win it. If NBA Finals appearances were great, boy, wouldn't LeBron James have more respect than he gets? You know what I mean? Like,
fair.
If Jimmy Butler is really that let me show it to you, whip it out, dude, when it comes time to show it and whip it out, which last night was, he didn't do it.
No,
he didn't do it.
Jimmy Butler
looked like Wiggins played better than him. That pisses me off.
You know how like certain regions make people soft and based on the weather primarily, and Miami is about as cush as it gets. There's a lot to break down with that game last night. It was absolutely disgusting. If you watched last night's post-game Golden Days, I was frustrated to no end. Starting with my ire from last night's game. Again, there's a lot to discuss here, but for me, it started with coaching. And what I mean by that is who in their right mind thinks Jimmy Butler as your tallest player is a valid starting lineup in today's NBA, in any era's NBA, in any basketball team, on a college basketball team. How does that make sense? This is the NBA. Damon, why again? And I was blasting this on social media. I was telling people because I'm competing with other postgame shows, and I was guaranteeing that this was going to be the only program who brings up the obvious fallacy in last night's game, which was that starting lineup. Your thoughts, man, because it made no damn sense and it drew my ire, dude. I don't get it.
Here's the thing. What choice does he have, though?
A lot.
It's not like Steve Kerr can cobble together the big lineup that doesn't really even exist on his own team. It's one thing to go to a small lineup because in the moment it's your best, most efficient way to go about winning a game. It's another thing to design a team specifically around the concept of all we have is a small lineup. And that's where the Warriors, I think, are a little offensive sometimes in the way that they built their team. It seems like they have embraced small to the detriment of being able to counter with big. And that's just a little tough. That's a little tough.
But here's the thing, and there was a lot of little things besides the fact that they do. First of all, I've never hated the concept of Quentin Post as your starting center. What has he done to deserve this punishment of bench time instead of starting consistently, developing in the process? I don't get that. And if you're going to tell me, well, Steve Kerr's won 4 championships, then explain how last night did not work and justify that.
Look, Steve Kerr won 4 championships because at no point in time in any of those championships was he really relying on the contribution of young players. Look, Steve is great at a lot of things.
Yes.
Player development of young rosters on his team is not one of them. It's just, It isn't. And you could say that the Warriors, maybe even more than any player's shortcomings, inabilities, have done more to stunt their own player development than the players have. I'm not at these practices. I'm not watching what's going on, but it is really weird that the Warriors have so much trouble finding consistency in just how they deploy a young player, much less consistency of the player once they get deployed, right? There's two different things here. The minutes allocated to you and then what you do with those minutes.
Right.
And it doesn't seem that what you do with those minutes plays any factor in how those minutes are allocated to you. And that's the real scratching of the head with the Warriors.
With Steve Kerr, I feel like I've hopefully figured it out. So much of this is just coming to assumptions. And because, like you're rarely going to get any of these individuals being truly genuine or honest about what goes behind the decision-making. Maybe Steve Kerr was completely honest in saying he relies on his gut. He's intuitive, right? But when it comes to developing players, I let me know if you agree that I figured it out in terms of the failure to properly develop young talent. He just doesn't have the patience for it. And that's an old school coaching mentality. And I get it. Typically when you have a veteran team, if a player is underperforming, you yank them and you look down the bench and say, who's next? But that doesn't work with development. And again, the 2022 season, I understood it for obvious reasons. They won a championship. But 2023, 2024, even this season, you have the leeway to experiment and back off a bit and let these players play. It's not hurting you as much as Steve Kerr thinks it does, but in these little moments, it frustrates him. He yanks them, and he makes these decisions based on how you would treat veterans and not rookies and young players. Your thoughts?
The whole league has basically wiped its hand in the general direction of 30 games on any schedule and just said, these don't matter.
You're right.
So in those games that just don't matter,
you're right.
Play the shit out of the guys who you're trying to figure out what you got. That to me, in the games that really just, it's early in the year, no one's out here playing. We're past opening week, so everybody's kind of turning their attention back to football. And there are 30 games of indifference built into every season. And I wish that those games of indifference would be used a little bit more valuably by the Warriors, who got a whole bunch of players they're still trying to figure out in real time.
100% agree with you. But it wasn't just that. Like, if it was just the starting lineup last night, I would have probably been more reserved in my reaction to the coaching. And again, I haven't criticized Kerr ever since pretty much the Jimmy Butler trade. I feel like they've been doing the right things, but last night was egregious. Besides the starting lineup, like Kevon Looney, for example, you mentioned him as being relatively ineffective and inconsequential, and rightfully so. But he wasn't hurting the team either. And Kevon Looney is a player you play based on matchups. What I mean by that is, if the opponent has a traditional center who's a very effective, efficient, low post scorer, Kevon Looney gets exposed, man. Like, he can't defend elite centers with multiple skill sets offensively. The Nikola Jokic's, for example, Karl Anthony Towns. He's borderline worthless. But a team like Miami, where you're relying on guys like Bam Adebayo, Ware, who don't have these offensive skill sets dialed in. They're there more for athleticism, defense. Ware might become that someday. He's not there yet. Right, and to not see Looney play in this game with that team that they're playing against until late second quarter, that's when we first saw Kevon Looney play in this game. Like, little things like that. Moses Moody was 0 of 9 shooting from three. 0 of 9. That is a terrible statistic, and that really happened. There should have been a conversation there. Dude, shooters shoot. I agree. Moses Moody, though, has not achieved that level of grace.
Right. He ain't quite
and if you're going to treat youngsters in a way where if they're playing bad, switch it up. Where was the switch up there? I don't see consistency with the methodology. There's just a lot that frustrated me in last night's game, and I'll shut up now.
And Cyrus, no. I mean, you're just let it out. You're right about everything. It does bother me. So first of all, the entire game does need to be graded on. Steph wasn't there, and the curve that comes with that, and giving a longer leash to role players because of that. and that is in play. Another thing that's in play is when you're 0 for 8 from downtown, don't shoot that 9th three until you've gone and made a bucket. Get to the rim. Like, I hate that the Warriors' backup plan for we've missed a lot of threes is always, well, we need to shoot more threes then.
Great call.
I brought that up as well. That's the backup plan. Plan B is C plan A.
I brought that up last night as well.
That bothers me. And I look, you can say, well, that's bad coaching. It's also the lazy habits of modern NBA strategy coming into play when you're down, all of it. You're down 18 points. Well, trying to get back in this game by threes conceptually is going to get you back in it faster than if by 2. But if it's just 0 for downtown, just get in, go to the rim. And this is where Jimmy Butler comes into play. And he wasn't nearly as aggressive as he needed to be on a night where no one's hitting threes. And, oh, by the way, like, you're back here after you've dragged your balls across the face of this entire franchise, Jimmy. So, like, do something. Like, if there's one night to nut up and be the guy, here it is. And you could see that he didn't even really want to do that. Like, there was something weird about just, you could tell how apathetic he was to be back in Miami.
Well, and Damon, just to add to that, I hope I'm not interrupting, but just to add to that, 9 of 38 shooting for the Warriors from deep. 9 of 38. Thankfully, that did not hit record levels for most missed threes in a game, but the Warriors missed 29 threes. And like you said, at a certain point, realize that ain't part of your game tonight. Adjust things. Go for the easy buckets. And I noticed every time the Warriors focused on easy buckets, they were succeeding. There's a reason why Jonathan Kuminga was the leading scorer for the Warriors last night, because that was the only method of offense that was working, was attacking the paint, getting inside. Miami planned for that three-point shot for the Warriors. Most of those were contested. A lot of those were certainly ugly. But, yeah, switch it up. I wholeheartedly agree with you with your sentiments. And then to the Jimmy Butler part of this, and I know we're going to play some sound and we're going to break a lot down. 100% agree with you. Nothing you said is incorrect about Jimmy Butler, and the fact that he had a homecoming game following a very arduous, very acrimonious split with the Miami Heat. You expect vengeance, you expect aggression, you expect someone who's going to bring the competitive fire to a game like this. The intensity was lacking. And the Bay Area, Damon, and this is talk about my ire, dude. I'm just frustrated with a lot of things. The Bay Area, if you're paying for live TV, which is what you pretty much have to do, you have to pay in some manner to watch NBA games, right? And for me, it's live TV. You could also, I believe, be like an NBA League Pass subscriber. There's a few other methods, but you got to pay if you're not cheating. And so I pay $100 a month for live TV so that they could tell me which version of the Warriors game I get to watch. Thank you for that. So we watched the NBC Sports Bay Area version. No disrespect to Fitz or Kalena, at least for me, but I want options if I'm paying $100 a month. I wanted to watch the TNT broadcast. And part of what I missed, and I saw it this morning on social media, was Shaquille O'Neal and Candace Parker, both of them just saying very blunt, to the point, yet incredibly accurate statements about the Warriors that I didn't see until this morning, which is from Shaquille O'Neal. And I love this quote from him, which I think perfectly summed up what happened with the Warriors last night. His quote is, 5 days in Miami, concentration is at 0. Your thoughts, Damon? I want to start there because I think that does correlate a little bit with the Warriors being totally unprepared. They're human beings. They are professional basketball players, individuals of privilege. You're in Miami Beach of all places. 5 days is what they have there. It is pretty crazy. I want to start there because Candace Parker also says something that was more basketball related pertaining to the Warriors and their struggles. But what are your thoughts on this weird scheduling? Because Vince Carter was on the panel as well, and he looked at Shaq and was like, I've never had 5 days in Miami. And there was no disagreement or pushback when he said that. And that is a human element to this that I think is relevant. But it doesn't excuse the shitty behavior that play from Jimmy Butler either, or any of the other players for that matter. I mean, it was awful play. But I think Shaq was right at the same time. It's like you acclimate to your environments. Miami Heat players are used to that. That should be a home court advantage. And it certainly looked like it in last night's game.
I know that they always said that, the first defenders you got to get past are the beaches in Miami or, Bourbon Street in New Orleans. One of the reasons why never putting a team in Vegas used to be the battle cry of all fairness, is how unfair it would be to out-of-town visitors coming in to play teams in Vegas, and how all those teams would be tripping all over bad decisions before they actually got to their game. And there is some reality to all of that. I would also say eventually you got to realize it isn't your freshman year anymore. Stop drinking too many beers and passing out on the couch and getting fingered by the dickhead who, you let your guard down around. Like, eventually you gotta not be the freshman passing out on the couch. Like, if you're several years into an NBA career and you don't know how to spend 5 days in Miami, you're a fucking pussy who can't drink.
It's amateur hour.
It is amateur hour. Like, learn how to be an adult. I'm in Miami, so it must be spring break. You pussy. What are you talking about? It's a business trip. If all you do is find the party in Miami, you're looking for it. That's it. It's not like you get to the lobby of any hotel you're in, and immediately, as soon as the doors open in the lobby, some freaking part-time Brazzers porn star shoves a bump of cocaine up your nose. There's an awful lot of just normal, happy, elderly people playing shuffleboard in Miami. Go be with them. Go play shuffleboard. Go to Joe Stone Crab. Have a slice of key lime pie. There's all sorts of things to do that aren't, my Riz and my party are on 10 for 5 days in a row. Like, it's lame. It's just lame. You know what else is, and Eric Spoelstra is a good coach. There's also that going on here. Eric Spoelstra is a really good coach, and he knows how to take teams that have like one or two tricks up their sleeve, and he takes away like one of your tricks. So now you only have one trick left in the game. And if that's not working, well, you're completely behind the 8 ball. And they took second 8 ball reference in the same monologue.
I'm just letting you roll because you're on fire, dude. Especially the college references. I'll always pause at that.
But seriously, if going to Miami is something that you're incapable of handling, and you're an adult who has the money to run off to Miami and go party like up to your eyeballs in every moment of every offseason, like, there's at no point in time should a really big party with a lot of hot chicks sound like this thing that an NBA player has got to get to. Like, you should have 1,000 of those on your social calendar. The hot party that's thumping with all the hot chicks in the club, that's every fucking Thursday night for you. So come on. That bothers me. It does bother me that, it's such a fun town that if we spend 5 days there, everyone's going to be a sophomore. Well, come on. All right.
These are professionals. These are professionals, and they're not acting like professionals. You're absolutely right.
Shuggy saying Atlanta plus Miami with days off. That's the story, fellas. Again, how good can the Wings really be at Magic City? How great can the strippers really be at Magic City?
Apparently amazing, because they've
been to Magic City, and I'll tell you, the Wings are good, the strippers are fine. It's just a strip club. That's it. It's not any different than any other strip club in the world, except this one gets called out in Drake songs. That's it. That's it.
Nope.
It's a strip club. And if you don't know how to behave in a strip club after you've been to 4,000 of them,
what Shuggy's missing in this is that
you know better.
New Orleans is next. It doesn't stop.
Yeah. Seriously, they're going to go to New Orleans next. What's Draymond going to poke his eye out with a beignet?
Dude, New Orleans is the dessert. I remember doing a cross-country trip where I went cross-country from Southern California to Miami and back. And I had to postpone New Orleans until the return trip because I forgot where I partied before there, but I was like, I can't do this. I can't go for one party town to New Orleans. I need to have a few days of just, of preparedness, if that's a word, getting my body ready for this, right? And these guys, it's in Atlanta where no pushback to what you said at all. The only thing I'll add to that is a lot of people in life love to roll with YOLO, baby. And that's the mentality. And they see these strip clubs that clearly have 5-star reviews.
If you are on full YOLO mode and have millions of dollars at your own disposal, you're doing it wrong. You are not only living once. You have quite a wonderful long life to live at this price point. So stop acting like you're not going to be here tomorrow. Like it's insane.
You're right. You're right.
Anyway, Truth Hurt says at this rate, Jimmy Butler is an amazing third option, not so much a second option. Well, here's the thing. I think he's a really good second option. The problem for the Warriors is that their ultimate first option was not there in Steph Curry. But it was, look, if I'm Pat Riley, and Pat Riley and I went to the same high school. Pat Riley is from upstate New York, which means he is 15% fucking asshole, just like I am.
You went to high school in upstate New York?
Yes.
I did not know that. I thought you were an Indiana boy, true and true.
Schenectady, New York, baby. No, I'm way too much.
Schenectady. Didn't they make a movie with that, the name of your town?
In the Midwest. No. There is a New Yorker in me, and not a cool New Yorker, not a New York City New Yorker. I'm talking about upstate New Yorker. We shovel. We're assholes. We're angry.
That explains a lot in terms of our chemistry, I think, because I love the East Coast humor. And I love the mentality. I love the grit. I love the authenticity. Sign me up for that, man. That's where the Bay Area, I think, is lacking in a huge way.
If I'm Pat Riley, I am walking past Jimmy Butler on the way out of that game, and I'm leaning over and I'm whispering into his ear. That's why I didn't give you the $60 million.
Look, the Pat Riley approach doesn't
11 points. Jimmy Butler showed up to Miami for his double middle fingers, screw everybody game and dropped 11 points. That's lame.
Agreed.
And here's the thing. Jimmy Butler wants to go so far out of his way to tell you how cool, how in control, how in command, how much of the man he is all the time. So let me push back a little bit and saying sometimes, Jimmy, you are those things. But last night, that was lame. Like that was some limp-wristed, not mannish, not alpha dog, no Jimmy buckets, no big face coffee. That was nothing. That was you are rank and file NBA guy in that moment. Guy Santos had more fire in his belly last night in Miami than Jimmy Butler.
Their best player. He was their best player, literally. I don't think there's any pushback on that.
Now, I have a lot of faith that they can circle the wagons and get better. And look, Steve Kerr has already said Friday in New Orleans is one of their most important games of the season. Steve has seen enough to know that the juju, which was so pointed in the right direction, is now in the wrong direction. And here's the thing. The problem isn't just that they lost because Jimmy didn't have a good game. The problem is that Draymond didn't even pack his lunch to go to work in that game. That was pretty obvious. Gary Payton, Moses Moody, you guys have been playing well lately. Guess what? Last night, y'all turned back into pumpkins. Everyone was bad. Pajemski, you got a C+ because you came to play. I'll get
well, late in the game. First half, he was part of the starting fives, Damon. We haven't even touched on this stat. I mean, I beat it ad nauseum last night, but I feel like you should hear this since you're on such a roll today. 2 points apiece from all five starters at the end of the first half. The starting five had 10 points collectively, no three-pointers at the end of the first half. Brandon Pajemski was a part of that. He did start to show up in the second half a little bit, but way too little, way too late.
It was too little, too late. Look at this. Law offices, smart, rich, and wise. 11 fucking points. Yeah, that's it. 11.
Yeah, that's it.
Jimmy showed up with 11 points. It was a disappointing game.
Inexcusable. No, inexcusable. And look, the Pat Riley approach, in Miami, they call him the Godfather, rightfully so. I have so much respect for Pat Riley. He's on my Mount Rushmore of NBA coaches all time. With that said, his approach rubs certain star players the wrong way. If it was just Jimmy Butler, I would have more criticism directed toward Jimmy, and I'm not absolving him either. But the fact that LeBron James also kind of took off and had an acrimonious finish with Pat Riley. Riley's approach just rubs some of these stars the wrong way. And that's welcome to the modern world.
Thing. So Pat Riley is from a generation where how you feel about this conversation does not matter. How you feel about this. Like, so today, I guess LeBron James did an hour with Pat McAfee in Indianapolis in his studio. I guess the Lakers must be playing the Pacers. So LeBron is in Indianapolis, and he, I guess, confirmed the story that Pat Riley taking his cookies from him on the airplane is one of the reasons why he left Miami.
Yeah, exactly. It just doesn't, the Riley approach isn't for everyone. And now with that said, could it have been handled better on both sides? Yes. I imagine.
I'll also tell you that, some of these guys, probably especially that one right there, if he wants cookies, let him fucking have the cookies. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly. You got to.
There's got to be exceptions to the rules.
And in today's world, and Damon, as a professor, in terms of teaching classrooms and a career that's quickly fading into oblivion because no one's going to school anymore unless it's for a STEM class, whole other discussion another day. But what I've learned in 12 plus years of teaching now is the approach that I had teaching 12 years ago, sure as shit, would not fly today. I had to drastically adjust my teaching methodology and approach. Like, kids today and are not the same. They don't handle certain approaches the same way. And when you have an entire student body who are collectively responding like this, you've got to change. And that, welcome to today's generation. The old method of, like tough shit. I mean, Bobby Knight was an absolute extreme, but my point is, you just can't be a hard ass like that anymore. No. You have to give some leeway. This is the modern world, whether you agree with it or not. If you want to reach and connect to these individuals, that's the approach. You can't do it the Pat Riley way anymore. It doesn't work. 1,100 kids hit the transfer portal the first day that they could in college basketball. That just shows you can't afford to yell at a kid anymore. How do you coach a kid hard? Because the minute you step on a kid's toes or hurt their feelings, they might be looking to transfer. It's brutal out there. It really is. Again, sometimes you just got to pat somebody on their head and give them a sandwich. And that brings us to my man, Ike, who yes.
Happy birthday to you. It's Ike's birthday today. Ike turns 47, I think. He's 47 today. Happy birthday to my man, who's an awesome sponsor here on the Blues. He's got the right sandwich for you at his restaurants, because anything that you can imagine, believe me, he's got it in there for you. Best sandwich on the West Coast, expanding ever eastward. Sign up for the Love Rewards program, and if you are in charge of ordering for your office, you will be hailed a hero if you check out Ike's Catering and get a box of 15, 30, 50 sandwiches delivered to your office, all cut in half, all ready to go. People will be smiling ear to ear if you bring in a little Ike's for lunch. So thanks to my guy, and as always, to the boys at the Dubliner and West Portal, best Guinness pull in all San Francisco. Get yourself a JMO. Have your Ike's delivered right to you at the bar at the Dubliner West Portal. You'll be happy that you did. Look at my man, Cyrus. He's Vanna Whiting that as best he can for me right now. Outstanding hand placement. He hears that all the time. What do you got for us, Cyrus? What do you got for us?
That's what she said. We got... I should not have said that before my sponsor. I fell for that trap, and then some. That's all on me. Visit Humboldt, the ultimate travel destination. If you're looking for something to do, folks, whether you're in Northern California, where the majority of our audience is, or across the country and world, when people flock to California, whether to live, whether to come for vacation, yet the part of California that is often forgotten, ignored, and wrongfully so, is the true Northern California. And that's the area with the Redwoods, national parks, state parks, amazing breweries. Try some Steelhead and thank me later. Wineries, incredible restaurants. They got the Samoa Cookhouse, which has all you can eat comfort food. And we're talking like high quality comfort food at not a price that'll break your bank. It is awesome. Go check it out, and check out visithumboldt.com to get information on places to stay, things to do, or DM me. I used to call the place home and still go up there at least once a year. It is paradise, in my humble opinion. Today's episode also brought to you by BetOnline, the world's most trusted betting platform. The Golden State Warriors did not cover last night, obviously, but March Madness is in full swing, so you do have a distraction when it comes to hoops. Check out the madness with BetOnline. The game starts here.
There you go. Let's go to a little post-game reaction. Last night, Jimmy Butler in the hallway talking about his return to Miami. This starts with a reporter asking a question. What can you guys do differently after a performance like this? And here's Jimmy.
Tough losses, Jimmy. What needs to change? Probably like the effort coming out of the jump. Got to guard a little bit better. Seems like as of late, everybody's been scoring at will, at the rim, in the mid, at the three, get to the free throw line. We've gotten away from what got us a couple wins early on.
How does the sense of urgency kind of?
We've always had that. We've always had that, a sense of urgency, and there's no excuses. Never will be. We're expected to win, so we gotta pick it up.
I mean, what about these days in Miami? You have been almost a whole week here in the city.
I stay with my kids. I don't get the opportunity to see them as often as I want to, being on the other side of the United States. So I'm by the pool, playing dominoes, loving on my kids.
Taking care of Big Festy?
Yeah, I stopped by there a couple times, but more than anything, enjoying the weather a little bit. And like I said, being around my babies.
Jimmy, how nice of a break is it that?
There you go. So Jimmy, who said, I wasn't the one out partying too hard in Miami. I was with the kids at the pool. How old are his kids? He's playing dominoes with his kids. Hold on. Where are you? Cyrus, you're muted.
Thank you for that. I don't know what happened there. He loves dominoes, man. Jimmy Butler is a dominoes player. It's like a hobby, passion, whatever you want to call it. He plays.
And the kids are in it too. He's got him going early. Good for them. But here's the thing. Like, I don't think Jimmy, he's right about the lack of effort and the lack of defensive intensity. And there is a little, I don't know, for a team that didn't have its best player playing for him last night, they really did have a roll the ball out there and everything's just going to take care of itself sort of mentality. You got to work twice as hard in games where Steph Curry's not there to bail you out. And it feels like they worked about half as hard as they normally do, much less twice as hard.
Well, and so part of the reason why I wanted to play that clip on the show today, it was mostly the first part. The lack of effort, these bad starts that the Warriors have been having, the lack of intensity, routinely facing lesser teams record-wise and let's be real, talent-wise, only to see them just rise to the occasion. I mean, like we're seeing players routinely post these absurd stat lines, like Alec Burks last night, for example, a guy who averages 6.1 points per game, dropped 17 points on 5 of 7 shooting from deep. Tyler Hero, who I know is an all-star, but even all-stars don't go perfect from beyond the arc. He literally did not miss a 3-point shot. Not a free throw, a 3-point shot. That's how absurd other teams are rising, the levels they're approaching when it comes to the Warriors. They see a dynasty and they treat them as such. Now, with that said, I've noticed certain things that's been happening schematically, right? And this is, again, part of the reason why coaching just drew my ire last night. It was the focus of my attention because they are failing as well. And I hope Stackhouse and Kerr are as observant of this as I have become, which is this element, Damon, and I'd love to get your thoughts. The Warriors defense is overhelping. And this has been going on for at least a few games now. And what I mean by that is
overhelping. So you said overhelping?
Overhelping, okay. Meaning they have a defense on a string approach, right? And just to try to elaborate on that without boring you and losing the audience here. Basically, they help each other. So if one player beats a defender, another dude steps right up to help, and then everyone else has to adjust appropriately to cover each other's backs. But if you're too aggressive with that approach, other teams are going to have wide open individuals, because if you're overhelping, if you're helping someone that doesn't need it or shouldn't need it, you're abandoning your defender, right? So someone has to come to help you. Then someone else has to come help that person. And when you're overly aggressive with that approach and you're jumping the gun, you're going to leave people wide open, which is exactly what's happening with opposing teams facing the Warriors. These wide open corner threes are not by coincidence. And it just sucks that, like, me, the podcast host, is seeing this. I hope the Warriors coaching staff is seeing this. That needs to be corrected. Your thoughts, Damon?
Well, I'll agree with you that just like, your own two eyes. What are your own two eyes telling you? There is no team in basketball that gives up there was no one in 10 feet of that guy wide open 3-point shot, quite like the Warriors do. And it's not just the corner three, it's everywhere. The above the break, below the break threes. There are wide open, uncontested threes shot against the Warriors. Feels like 10 or 12 of them every night. I mean, it doesn't even matter who they're playing.
Routinely.
Here's what teams are doing.
Here's what teams are doing. They penetrate. The extra help comes really fast, and they just make one or two extra passes for a wide open three. That is what teams are doing possession after possession after possession. It is a broken record, and part of the problem is that the Warriors have abandoned good old-fashioned man defense. If you're in the NBA, you should be able to stay in front of your defender without getting help every single time. So stop helping every time, because if you're helping without necessity, you're putting a strain on your defense. And again, I don't know if that's where coaching needs to step in. Like Steve Kerr's a player's coach. Part of the reason Shaq alluded to in those 5 days off, right? He excuse me, brought up Steve Kerr's name largely because he's a player's coach. He's the type of coach who will let his players just chill for 5 days, right? You're in Miami Beach, and he needs to be on them, man. Like when it comes to the defense, you as an NBA player need to stay in front of your defender and not rely on your teammates literally every possession. That's too much strain on your defense, and both the coaching staff and the personnel need to adjust to that.
Yeah, I mean, or book a hotel in Coral Gables and don't stay in Miami.
Just a film session. I mean, just
have to be there for the game. You can stay outside of Miami. You go down to Key West where it's a little sleepier if you need to. Look, all I know is that we're looking at a league that is built in. This game doesn't matter. Burn the tape. Night off. Forget about it. Move on. We are past that point of the season. That's why these losses are a little bit disappointing and a little concerning, because it feels like sharpening your knives is the only level of basketball that you should be playing right now. And the Warriors are still starting games with dull spoons, and everybody else has sharpened their knife at this point in the year. And the Warriors are, just not coming out nearly with the amount of this is playoff caliber level intensity every single game from here on out. Because, oh, by the way, you are trying to hold off two right behind you rear view mirror teams. One of them's got, a little bit of a, youth thing going for it, I guess, with the Timberwolves. The other's got, the veteran thing going for it with the Clippers. And you got two different entities that they might not scare you, but believe me, Steve Kerr always talks about that competitive fear, the respectful fear. You should be afraid of falling back into the play-in, and you should be embracing the chance to pick up games on Memphis and be the 5 seed. You're 2 back of Memphis, I believe, and you're playing Memphis next. You win that game. That's a full game, kids. I don't know if you know how that works, but you beat that, which means all you got to do is win on a night where Memphis is losing somewhere else, and now all of a sudden you too can be the 5 seed. So the Warriors, they still have so much to play for. So for them to just have a kick a can down the court game, it's disappointing at this point.
Colossally. I 100%, 1,000% agree with you. And again, this goes back to last night. I was pissed, man. For that was part of the reason. Their urgency needs to be there. The lack of it was colossally disappointing. And look, let's not pretend missing your best player, one of the greatest players ever, is not an excuse. I mean, that does play a part in this. Candace Parker, when Shaquille O'Neal brought up the human side of this, the 5 days in Miami and the after effect that we're clearly seeing, Candace Parker also brought some pragmatism. And she said very bluntly in response to Shaquille O'Neal, the Warriors have the worst offensive efficiency in the NBA without Stephen Curry on the floor. And when you are dead last in offensive efficiency, that's those are else to say with that. Look, when Steph and Curry's out,
this is why Steph needs to get MVP consideration. He's not going to win it, but he should finish in the top 5. I mean,
give him some third place votes, please. Yes, 100% agree. 100% agree. Yeah, and now the schedule part of it, I'm really glad you brought up Memphis, because it isn't just the fact of the Warriors by beating Memphis. They play each other Tuesday, April 1st in Memphis. That's going to be a rocking and rollicking environment in the city of Memphis, because they're going to know as much as the Warriors, just the magnitude of that game in terms of the standings and otherwise. The Warriors right now trail Memphis by 3 games. All right.
3 now.
It's 3. Yeah.
Okay.
It's 3. It's 3. Now here's the good news. If you beat Memphis in that game, you win the season series as well.
Right.
So they've already beaten Memphis twice this season. Memphis has 1 win, but that 1 win was by 51 in Memphis. So I hope Steve Kerr is playing film of that game the night before to wake them up, hopefully. So if they win that game, they're within 2. I mean, who knows where the standings are by then, but hypothetically speaking, worst case scenario, both teams are winning. You win that game. Now you're within 2. You also own the season tiebreak. Memphis also has some really tough games coming up. When I look at the standings, and I did this breakdown, and I'm so glad you transitioned to this. Again, you are a pro for very good reason. Bravo for the transition to the seg. I acknowledge that.
It was total luck. It was total luck. I had no idea where we were going.
No, but you made it look seamless. Bravo. So, but you look at the standings, and there's really 3 teams that you're looking at if you're the Warriors. All the other ones are now irrelevant. There are 3 teams. The Memphis Grizzlies, because they're the only one left above who the Warriors realistically have a shot at catching.
Right.
And then you have below them 2 teams. The Clippers, who should scare everyone because they're going to own the tiebreak no matter what. So you can't finish tied with them. And they play each other the final game of the season. So the Clippers are right behind the Warriors, and they're currently just a half game back, tied in the loss column. That is sketchy. And then the 8th seed in the NBA right now in the Western Conference are the Minnesota Timberwolves, and that's the 3rd team. Those are the 3. The good news is the Warriors own the tiebreak over Minnesota, so you can live with being tied with them. They don't own the tiebreak over the Clippers. Memphis is to be determined. 2 of those 3 teams still have some really difficult games ahead of them, Memphis and the Clippers. They don't have an easy stretch of games remaining. Minnesota does. Your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Just there are no more can throw that away games. They all matter greatly. They all matter greatly based on the out-of-town scoreboard watching that you got to do here. So that's why a game in Miami that was just, that was uncompetitive the whole way through. Like you were never in the game, from the 8-minute mark of the first quarter on.
Yep.
It was white flag it. I mean,
Correct.
It really was.
Yes.
And that is just, can't happen right now. Now, Clarence Beeks comes over from Golden Days side of the broadcast saying maybe Kerr takes a day off and Stackhouse can scream at them for a game. Let me tell you right now, you could. Jerry Stackhouse is this. Steve Kerr is this. Okay, don't confuse that. Don't confuse.
I think what the message is that Jerry Stackhouse is known as the yeller type coach, the get in your face, like get on your ass type coach. He's a hard ass.
This is beyond yelling. I mean, this is there's a reason why Steve doesn't yell ever, because he knows that shit doesn't work with guys making millions of dollars who are pros. This is not.
Well, here's a little pushback to that.
To get a little angry and for emphasis, bring everybody's attention forward to the room, but you're not going to yell to get a guy to play harder in the NBA.
Well, maybe yelling is not the right verb here. But the intensity of calling people out, holding people accountable, like Ime Udoka, for example, I think is a perfect example of a coach who does bring an intimidation factor in his leadership style. Like I don't see players wanting to get into his face, and there's certain coaches that have that.
Wife.
What's up?
He'll fuck your wife.
He'll do that too, and that's a whole other discussion. You're right.
At no point in time is a single Golden State Warrior worried that Steve Kerr is going to fuck my wife.
No, he's not that much of an alpha. No.
By the way, that's not alpha. That's awful. There's no alpha behavior. And you get no man points. You get no, oh, your dick must be so awesome stories told about you. If you sleep with a married woman, you are an asshole.
100% agree with you. I absolutely agree with. Jerry Stackhouse, though, and Draymond Green is
Stackhouse.
who I hope is not screwing other people's wives.
No way Jerry does that.
But former head coach at Vanderbilt, right? I think I've heard Jerry Stackhouse is a very upstanding individual. But Draymond Green has also said publicly that Jerry Stackhouse is the type of guy who you really don't want to get his attention for the wrong reasons.
Sure.
So I think that's what that post was alluding to. Is that,
of course,
that maybe Steve Kerr is like, you know what, Jerry, this is your team today. I'm going to take the day off.
I guess my point would be none of this has anything to do with assistant coaches. At the end of the day, none of this has to do with Gary Payton II or Guy Santos or Trey Jackson Davis. None of this has anything to do with them. This is on Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Jimmy Butler taking every game as serious as cancer from here on out.
Yeah.
And that's why I think the reason why Steve Kerr, who is very good at managing expectations, Steve Kerr does not circle shit in public without him really meaning it. And I think Steve knows that if Curry is back in this lineup, and we have a going through the motions game in New Orleans, we're an illusion.
That agreed. That's a fair statement. If the Warriors lose in New Orleans with or without Stephen Curry, it's time to seriously self-reflect in terms of who this team is and how serious they are with their postseason intentions. Because Draymond Green was predicting a championship not that long ago. I'm still on his side in terms of where I think this team has potential for. But these two games, these are stinkers. These are
I will bet my mortgage on the Warriors not being NBA champions this year. Okay, I mean they are
wow.
They have zero chance, I believe.
I'm not that far at all.
They will not get past the Lakers. They will not get past the Nuggets.
Well, the Nuggets
won't get past the 10-seeded Miami Heat in the East in a 7-game series. If the team is long, the Warriors are in trouble. It's
I'm not that
length means you're in trouble. Now, maybe you shoot yourself out of trouble this night, but I don't. The Warriors are built to matter again, which is great because they were trending in they're not going to matter anymore direction. So they matter again. And look, I don't want to be a prisoner in the moment and get so upset about a single loss in Miami or back-to-back losses because of the loss in Atlanta as well. This team is 16-5 since adding Jimmy Butler. But if we really wanted to go through the details of 16-5, I don't think that there are two teams that were at full strength in that entire run that they played. Like there are reasons maybe why the Warriors have played so well beyond just them being this good.
Maybe. I'm definitely not at that place yet from these.
Hey, I'd love to be wrong. I'd love to be wrong. Don't get me. Yeah, I want the Warriors to go as deep and as far as they possibly can. I am looking at a team that when the shot's fallen and the defense happens, anything can happen. Anything can happen. But 7-game series against a team that is literally going to give them problems with size. I don't know how they get around that.
The Nuggets, there's zero pushback for me. I have not seen evidence of any kind that indicates the Warriors can beat the Nuggets. And what's even more concerning, adding some consternation to Dub Nation is the fact that if the season ended today, that would be the first round matchup. It'd be Nuggets and Warriors. And you don't want that. You don't want that. Certain teams the Warriors are built for, like OKC, I am confident in the Warriors that they have a very strong chance of winning that series. The Rockets, the Grizzlies. I'll even push back a little bit about the Lakers. I think the Warriors post Anthony Davis can handle the Lakers, at least push them in a 7-game series. But you're right, dude. The Nuggets, 9-game losing streak and counting, and they're going to play the Nuggets at home, I believe, on April 4th. Right. That's it. This is, dude, the schedule makers have just been brutal on the Warriors this season. Besides leading the NBA in back-to-backs, they have a back-to-back April 3rd and 4th at the Lakers, at home against the Nuggets. Make that make sense to me, man. Like, those are probably the two most difficult challenges for the Warriors outside of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and you put them back-to-back. God damn, man, that is rough. You're giving them Miami, like, sandwiched with off days. Dude, this is just that was a trap. That was some sinister shit from the NBA to set up this schedule. We're going to give you Strip Club Central. We're going to give you Beach Central. We're going to give you Booze and Food Central back to back to back with 6 off days sprinkled around that. Have fun. Sinister.
Again, I'm sorry. I thought 4-time NBA champions would be able to handle that.
They should.
Man, I didn't realize that everybody on this team was still attending their first rodeo.
But let me ask you this, Dream.
Draymond Bruce.
That was a Freudian slip there. I was about to ask you,
how do I change your name to Draymond Bruce? Can I do that, Draymond Bruce?
Well, I was going to ask you, like, what's the first player you think of when your mind goes to the Warriors going out and having fun? And because my thought was Draymond Green, and that's where the Freudian slip stepped in. Like who do you think of when your mind goes to the Warriors and deciding we're going out for dinner tonight, and it all starts there? Like, who's the catalyst? Who's the captain of that ship?
Well, here's the thing. Like, by definition, it's got to be a young guy, right? It's got to be somebody who's, like, new to this. Like, I don't even think Brandon Pajemski's ever even been on a date. I don't even know if he's touched a girl. So he's
strongly, I can tell you this with 99.9% certainty, not true. That is not true.
Okay,
the kid is having fun.
That's great. Brandon Pajemski looks like he's a guy who's never been to a party. And so maybe him. It's the quiet guy is the one you got to worry about at the party, right? Again, what's funny is that if you want to talk about, like, how do you do handling fame? I know this is going to sound like no one's going to believe me unless you have spent time in Indiana, in which case you will totally agree with me. The level of fame, scrutiny, and attention that Trayce Jackson-Davis existed in at Indiana is only comparable to the level of global attention that Steph Curry has existed in since becoming Steph Curry with the Warriors. Like Draymond has never been as famous as Trayce Jackson-Davis was
in Indianapolis.
In Indiana.
Where in Indiana specifically? Is it Bloomington?
Oh no, the entire state is
okay.
Is like doing lines of Indiana basketball off the back of a toilet in a bar. It's the whole state is hooked. And so it's
I love that. I love that. It makes no sense. It makes perfect sense all at once.
It really is. But I don't know who should be the most. This guy's going to be a prop. Like he's probably going to get us thrown out of the bar tonight. I would have said Pajemski. I don't know. Maybe Pajemski's cooler than I know, and he's out there just crushing cocktails and chicks, and I don't know anything about it.
I don't know if he's partying, but I do know he's fine at the spitting game department.
Okay, good. He's got Parker Brothers. He's got more game than Milton Bradley. I love it. Fantastic. That's great. Here's the thing. I don't think it's Moody because Moody's just too
reserved,
quiet.
Mama Moody did well raising his boy. Or her boy. I'm sorry.
Gary Payton II would be.
Now we're onto something.
We're onto something. Who wants to party a little too hard? If there's, everyone was ready to leave. Well, we can't find Gary.
GP2 baby, great call. He is on that group chat. Like he probably organized the group chat.
Right. I could just see like Pat Spencer and Guy Santos hitting on the same chick, both guy getting nowhere.
But the GP2 call, man, there you go. I think that's your answer.
Is he your guy most likely to be escorted out of the establishment?
Oh man, I love it.
Who is your guy? Who is your guy most likely to be escorted out?
Oh, escorted. GP2.
Is it Gary? Okay.
I think, I don't like the moment you dropped his name, it's like everyone else is just second, except for Draymond. I can see Draymond also having fun. You know, he loves LeBron James's wine. And
I think that there's just too much gray in Draymond's beard to be making like freshman mistakes at this point. Like I honestly think the guy who punched Jordan Poole doesn't live here anymore. I really do. I think Draymond's really grown up in the last couple of years.
Well, he's
really matured. I think he's a little older, a little wiser, or maybe just a little, his wrist has been slapped enough or hard enough to the point where he just knows he's not going to bite that hand that feeds him again. And
that's the Stephen Curry factor. Like, Draymond Green, his respect, his adoration for Steph is so high. Like, we're all Stephen Curry fans, but I think Draymond Green might be the biggest. And that's what keeps him in check, is not disappointing Steph. You're absolutely right. That's a great call, man. Even Draymond the way he deals with officials this year, it's a totally different level, man. Like, he knows when to start. Like, all the refs are used to him, right? And I think the refs actually they indulge him. They like the back and forth to a certain extent when it's respectful and when it's playful and when it's honest, right? You don't want someone just yelling like F you or you're a piece of shit. They don't want that kind of treatment. And I don't think Draymond's given him that. So Draymond is really handling the officials well this year. I also want to give him kudos for the Defensive Player of the Year candidacy. He's the favorite according to the odds makers, including BetOnline. Currently, he's at -125. That is the favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year. Evan Mobley is the only other player within reach, at least according to the odds makers. Evan Mobley is -110. I really hope Draymond wins that DPOY, dude. He deserves it. There's no one else in the game who's defending 1 through 5 like he does. He's going to go down in the annals of the history books as one of the all-time greatest defensive players. I firmly believe that. And yeah, kudos to him, man. I'm glad you said that.
So I think that, like we're watching things and we're trying to judge them against history. And I do believe that we have watched enough excellence over time, over the years, sustained greatness from LeBron James to officially say that LeBron James has had the single greatest career in the history of the NBA. Michael Jordan, at his peak, was the greater apex predator. But the entirety of a career, I believe LeBron has officially claimed the crown of greatest professional career the league has ever seen. The greatest basketball player in any one given moment, I still believe, is Michael Jordan.
Well,
but
LeBron James
has the greatest career. Now, when it comes to defensive acumen, we cannot forget about, elite Hakeem. We cannot forget about Bill Russell, who, again, I didn't even really get to watch play, but I know enough people who did say, if you think you got that shot up, Bill Russell would have another thing for you. You didn't even
get the numbers, and his numbers versus Wilt in their head-to-head matchups, because they had a lot of battles in the NBA Finals. Wilt Chamberlain should have won more than 2 titles, and that's almost entirely because of Bill Russell. So
yes,
just adding to your argument about Bill.
I know that Rick Barry, who you talk to an awful lot, Rick Barry has a clearly distorted level of basketball bias and knowledge that he works from, but it's still valuable. And one of the most honest things I've ever heard out of Rick Barry was, well, first of all, when I asked him for his all-time starting top 5, he gave me 4 players' names, and I'm like, "Who's the 5th?" He's like, "Me, duh."
Yeah, which is awesome.
I love that about him. And here's the deal: he might not be wrong. That's how good he was. He really was.
NBA top 50 officially. I always say NBA top 15 unofficially. Grossly underrated. Maybe the most underrated player ever. I mean, because he's never talked about, but his impact was that profound. Sorry to interrupt.
The coolest thing in conversation that I ever had off the record with Rick about the basketball that I didn't get to see with my own 2 eyes is he drilled into me the strength of Wilt Chamberlain.
Yes. Yeah, he will not be.
He's like Wilt Chamberlain could have literally picked Shaquille O'Neal up and thrown him into the third row and then dunked. Like, he was that strong. He was the strongest human being that has ever played the game. And okay, like, I'm willing to believe you here. So those might be the greatest defenders in the history of basketball.
Not Dennis Rodman. You don't put him in that.
Dennis Rodman category? Was a great defender, an even better rebounder, but because some dependability and not being the guy who's always causing a problem or disappearing or vanishing, that has to go. Like, a level of professionalism needs to be involved, I think, in any career evaluation. And, Dennis came up short in that, but he more than made up for it with what he did in championship rounds. He was a great player, a Hall of Famer. There's no denying. But
5 titles, David. 5.
Versatility. If the concept of defensive versatility now is how we're defining great defense, this is where Draymond Green literally gets to jump right into the front of the line in the conversation and say, well, I officially can do something that Wilt nor Hakeem nor Russell were able to do.
Yeah.
These guys did not have the foot speed to guard a guard on a perimeter. I do. That's so. I do think that Draymond does need another Defensive Player of the Year to frame his place in the NBA properly. He should not be a one-time winner of that award, especially when Rudy Gobert has 4.
And Kawhi Leonard is 2, and that's not taking away from Kawhi, but just to add to what you said, Draymond needs more than 1. This is and look, the fact that Wembanyama got injured opens a window for players who otherwise would not have this opportunity. This will be the last time, I think, Draymond Green will be a candidate for Defensive Player of the Year. So I hope that the media does right here and does not screw him the way they screwed Kobe Bryant, who also deserved more than 1 MVP, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And going back to real quick, the LeBron thing. I give him credit for longevity, right? He like one of the big what ifs, maybe the biggest what if I have in my mind is, what if Stephen Curry had a physique anywhere near LeBron James? That would be a GOAT, right? That would be a GOAT. 4 and 6 in the NBA Finals will never convince me that player should also be considered the greatest of all time. Impossible.
Yeah, but I mean, you get 10 NBA Finals, right? I mean, it's.
But the losses count, man. I mean, you just said Jimmy Butler, right? So,
right.
So the losses count, and he got 4 of them. And whether you want to blame ego in the sense of him constantly bouncing teams and, trying to be self-serving, whether that plays a part in this, and that could be part of the overall discussion. Because of that, he did not get more than 4. But Jordan, to me, the reason why I don't like even entertaining this discussion, although it's what a lot of people like to talk about, and I understand that LeBron James just had this profound influence on a whole generation. So I don't mean to diminish him. He is, if you want to tell me he's the second greatest player ever, I will not push back on that. But to compare him to Jordan, the argument that I will always go back to between these two players is the separation between what Jordan has accomplished and what LeBron has accomplished. The separation is a Hall of Fame career in and of itself. We're talking, so the difference between finals MVPs, the difference between Defensive Player of the Year awards, the difference between scoring titles, like that, those 3 categories, MVPs, those 4 categories, all NBA teams, like when you look at the stats that correlate with winning, it's no contest. That is a Hall of Fame career.
Look, again, this is why I think that LeBron has had 3 Hall of Fame careers.
Then Jordan's had 4.
Time in Cleveland, his entire time in LA, and his entire time in Miami could be 3 on their own Hall of Fame careers. The guy has done an unbelievable job. It's not, you can't say that his numbers are a product of longevity, because in every single one of those seasons, it wasn't defined by the concept of longevity. It was defined by him being in the top 10 of every category that matters in this league at all times. I mean, he is a top 10 player in the league the day he stepped into it. He will be a top 10 player in the league the day he steps out of it. And that to me is unbelievable. That to me is worth everybody's respect.
Agreed.
But a game of one-on-one at their absolute apex primes, Michael Jordan wins because he never lost. Exactly. And that has to matter. That has to matter.
100%. And look, Jordan.
Michael Jordan would trade his body for LeBron's, though.
Well, yeah. And again, that's where that to me is actually a diminishment for LeBron. That's actually
you can't hold his physical attributes against him.
I do, in the sense that it's an unfair advantage.
Unfair advantage. The whole thing is about bigger, stronger, faster. That's what fucking sports is, dude. You can't hold that against them. Come on.
But then you might as well then you got to give a lot more weight than to players like Kareem, like Shaquille. I mean, like, because if we're gonna factor those things in, then the value. Then again, this goes back to, why are the Warriors playing small ball all the time? Why is there not more attention on Jimmy Butler being the tallest starter in your starting five? Why is there not critique from anyone else besides me with these kinds of things? Size does matter. But look, LeBron, again, the winning to me is a huge part of it. 6 finals MVPs. Like, Jordan won finals MVP all those years. 5 MVPs for Jordan versus 4 for LeBron. 9 scoring titles for Jordan versus 1 for LeBron. A defensive player of the year award for Jordan, 0 for LeBron. Like, there's those 4 categories alone. When you look at the difference between those two, and then if you want to come back and say, well, LeBron has more career points, has more career rebounds, has more career assists. Okay, that's why I say longevity. You're right. Every year he plays, he's relevant. He's dominating. What, second greatest ever? No doubt.
It's not like this is coming in garbage time. You know, I mean,
I know.
He's not at the garbage time portion of his career. Again,
I don't see how calling someone the second greatest player ever is an insult. I guess is what a lot of people.
It really isn't. I mean, I'm not.
It's not. No, it's not. That's my point.
You know, the whole, like, how about this? If Steph Curry had LeBron James's body, you really cannot do better than what LeBron James has done.
That's your perfect NBA player, I think. If you put Steph's shooting, like, if you put Steph and his brain and just transfer that into LeBron, I think you'd have the perfect NBA player. But that's my weird opinion there.
give me Nick Young's mindset and put it in Jimmer Fredette's body. That's the worst NBA player of all time.
Nick Van Exel, by the way, a random name to bring up before we get into, like, this day. I love, by the way, your end of show. I don't know if bits are the right word.
Yeah, well, no, I got something else for you today too.
Oh, I love. So these are. I look forward to these. I think that's an awesome touch. I should do something like that myself, to be honest. But I bring this up because Nick Van Exel is a name that has not been uttered in a while. And he used to be he had a weird career. Like, he was never. I don't know if he's made all-star teams, but he was a relevant player for a very long time. And I bring him up because I haven't thought of him in years, right? And I just remember in my childhood in the 90s, he played in a lot of meaningful NBA games. And he sent out a tweet last night, and that's what inspired the Shaquille O'Neal quote about the 5 days in Miami. Nick Van Exel first noticed that on Twitter last night, and I was like, Nick Van Exel? And it turns out for the last 9-10 years, he's been scouting and coaching. And that's the other direction you could take as an NBA player when you're done. Some of these guys, like, just want to be in the media game. They want their name out there. Then you have folks like Nick Van Exel, Tony Delk, another one, a name you might be familiar with from his Kentucky days. Like, he's another name. When I was at the Warriors game a few weeks ago, he's a scout. I forgot what team he scouts for. Damn it. The Mavericks, I think. He's a scout for the Mavericks. And that's what a lot of these guys do, man. I just think it's interesting. And for the younger crowd, you're going to get older very soon. And this is going to happen to you, where one day you look at a player like Guy Santos, who's now retired, and like, what's he up to these days? Oh, he's a scout for the Warriors. That's what he's up to. I just thought it was just.
I was talking to Jillian about this too, because there's been a lot of talk of age and birthdays. And I just, yesterday was my birthday. So,
happy birthday, brother.
I mean, I didn't tell you that. I didn't bring that up for a happy birthday.
But still, that's a big one. You're 50, right?
It was 50.
50. So, but you're going to go on a trip and everything, correct? I mean, what are you doing for the celebration? Because that's a big one.
Yeah, no. I didn't want to sell. I want to quiet. And then Jillian said, "What do you want for your birthday?" I said, "I want to quiet in the house. Just give me quiet. Just bake me a sheet of chocolate chip cookies and be quiet. Just leave me alone. Let me go play college football on PlayStation."
Was that that was your day? That was your 50th birthday?
Was great. I had a great day. I did nothing. It was awesome.
So you live the bachelor lifestyle for a day.
Yeah, but we're going to go ahead. We're going to Japan next month, and we'll celebrate and things there. But
okay, well, that's what. Okay, gotcha. There you go. I knew you had a trip coming up.
But we've been talking. Well, what was I brought up Jillian and birthdays. What we were talking about? Oh yeah, no. I remember. So we're watching an NCAA tournament game last week. She's on the couch. She's really not watching. I'm watching it. She's there. She's on her phone, just kind of and we're watching the Michigan State game. And I'm like, see that Richardson, Jace Richardson? I'm like, do you remember Jason Richardson? She's like, of the Warriors? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, that's his son.
That's great. I'm glad you brought that up. I've noticed that.
Oh my God, that's how old we are now. That the players that you remember rooting for now have kids in the NCAA tournament. Now, I am old enough to where this started happening to me a decade ago. Yeah. Like, I remember I'm watching there. I'm like, who's this Rice kid? I'm like, they're like, that's Glenn Rice's kid. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Glenn Rice's kid is old enough to be in college.
Insane.
Yeah.
Jeremy Grant of the Trailblazers. That still trips me out that he's Harvey Grant's kid, Horace's twin brother, who also played in the NBA. It's wild. GP2.
It's freaking crazy. So
it is.
Yeah, this is the age we are now, where the retired athletes are either doing like a kind of normal person job now because they're not professional athletes anymore. You know who I met? He was, I think, scouting for the Utah Jazz, former Indiana great Andre Patterson. And I'm sitting there like I'm having. This is when the Warriors played at Oracle. So we're over in Oakland level. This is before Steve Kerr was hired. This is like Mike Malone era Warrior. Okay, and
wow,
I'm sitting in the Warrior media room. I'm having dinner with Bruce McGowan, Tim Roy, and whoever. And I'm like, God, that guy looks familiar. He's just sitting there.
Brucey.
He's just sitting there. He's just sitting there. I'm like, God, why does this dude look so familiar to me? He's clearly a former basketball player. He's just way too tall to not be. What's going on here? And then I'm like, holy shit, that's Andre Patterson. I'm like, I wasn't thinking Indiana Hoosiers sitting in here tonight for this Warriors Jazz game, but there's Andre. And I went over to him, I'm like, are you Andre Patterson? He's like, yeah. I'm like, what are you doing here? He's like, I'm a scout for the Utah Jazz.
That's what a lot of these guys end up doing.
Yeah.
It's crazy. What is Calbert Cheney? I don't know why I just thought of him. What is Calbert Cheney up to these days? Like,
he was on Mike Woodson's bench in Bloomington.
There you go. Okay, so he's coaching. There you go. Yeah. The paths these individuals take but the fact that Jay Rich's kid is now on the verge of being an NBA player, man, we're all getting old, and it's going to happen to you if you're not there yet.
Jace Richardson can play. He's really good. Before we wrap up with a today in history, and then it's a fun today in history. Petty sports fans, when their pettiness is used for good and not evil, are the best. And I got a great story for you, Cyrus. You're going to love this. So Sean Miller used to be the coach at Arizona. Okay. Sean Miller is now the head basketball coach. Well, he was the head basketball coach at Xavier. He just left Xavier in the last 48 hours to take the Texas opening.
Good for him.
Sean Miller coached at Xavier before he went to Arizona, where he established himself as one of the best young up-and-coming coaches with a real program in Arizona, and they were a monster. And then the FBI came to town. They investigated Sean Miller, and he was fired because of that. Caught dead-handed paying athletes before NIL. He was caught. He cheated.
I remember that story. That was a lot of teams were implicated in that, if I remember correctly, right? Like Duke.
Big, like sneakers.
Like Krzyzewski retired right after that too. I don't think it was a coincidence, but anyways, yeah, go ahead.
He was a little older. Who knows? Anyways, all I can tell you is that Bobby Knight would have never, ever cheated.
Yeah, you're right.
Never.
You're right.
And anyways,
Lute Olson, there are a few old school guys that I would say would never do something like that. I don't know if you agree with that.
I don't even know if we're going to put loot there. But anyway.
Okay, all right. Maybe I was mistaken. That was
No. Loot was a great guy. Loot, a lot of integrity.
You might be right, though. You might be right, but go ahead.
Anyway. Sean Miller is, again, he's on his second stint at Xavier. You know, like they gave him the lifeline to get back into coaching after your scandal. Come home, Sean. And the first chance he has to go make bigger dollars in a bigger school, he takes it. He takes the Texas job. Students at Xavier ran to Twitter to incorporate and sign up for every single conceivable possible derivation of UT head coach Sean Miller, Texas head coach Sean Miller, Texas head coach. They signed up all of them to the point where the only Sean Miller, Texas head coach Twitter handle that was available to him contains like 3 underscores.
That's incredible.
That's like UT Sean Miller ___, because that's all that was left. They took everything.
Shame on the Xavier students. Shame on them for not taking that handle.
Exactly.
You blew it.
Be like, I didn't know he was going to go to 4 underscores. That was fucking a level of desperate I didn't even think he was going to achieve.
Oh, dude. I would have pushed him to that brink.
Isn't that great, awesome, though? When pettiness is good, a double underscore Twitter handle is the only thing he had left now that he's the head coach at Texas. So I love that.
I love, and Larry David, I think, mastered this, but I love actions taken in spite. There's something about that is just hilarious, and there's justice in it, and yeah, just sign me up. I'm all in. That was done in spite. Beautiful.
Again, if I were a super rich, angry Miami Heat fan, right next to Jimmy Butler's Big Face Coffee, I would open Bigger Face Coffee.
Oh, there you go. Exactly.
I'd have my coffee spite store right next to Jimmy
store,
Butler's.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah. What are you going to do? You're going to lose a lot of money. I don't care. I just want to put them out of business. I'm angry.
That's it. Just spite.
Mocha Joe's.
Oh, man.
All right, I'm out of coffee, which means we're out of show. It's time for Today in History. First of all, thanks to everyone for watching. We love doing a Warriors Weekly. We love having you here. If you are watching on the Plus, go subscribe to Golden Days. If you're watching on Golden Days, please come on over, subscribe to Damon Bruce Plus. We thank our sponsors, Ike's. We thank the Dubliner. We thank the entirety of Humboldt County and all the weed that they offer us to come and enjoy. So go up there and enjoy all of that. You can DM Cyrus, where do I go to lunch? Where do I go? Where do I do? What do I, how do I,
tips.
He will give you all the tips that you need. And this has been a fun show today. I'll tell you, I know it was a little bit negative.
Deserved it. It was worthy of negative. If we were not negative, we would not be authentic. You'd be faking it.
If you're telling me that basketball matters now, then games like we've seen from the Warriors the last 2 times that they've played are officially unacceptable, whether Steph Curry's out there or not. Just because Steph isn't playing tonight doesn't mean everybody collectively gets to forget how to shoot and rebound all at the same time.
Well, it's like the version that we saw early this season that was 7-3 without him. We're not seeing that version, and I don't know the why of it. Other than, I mean, look, we pointed out certain things that seem obvious, but the intensity and the effort and the energy, for whatever reason, are not there right now. And this is why, like, as weird as it may sound to be taking quotes from Shaquille O'Neal and 5 days in Miami seriously, but there is some validity to that. Like, as weird as that may sound, these are human beings. It's not excusable. Like, these aren't excuses, but at least they are reasons, excuse me, which make some logical sense, you know, and it doesn't mean that it's okay. Look, what we've been watching this product since the road trip started has not been fun. And it extends even a little further than that, because they played the Raptors at home before that, and that game was way closer than it should have been. They only beat a hapless Raptors team by 3. Let's not forget that. So this started even before the road trip. And again, that was the game where Steph got injured early. So ever since Steph's been out, They've been having problems. The version that was winning games early without Steph is not winning games now. And the reasons for it, the good news is that the reasons for it are correctable. It starts with intensity. It starts with adjustments, personnel, schematically, otherwise. These are fixable problems. And that's why I'm not hitting the panic button, the proverbial panic button yet. If they lose in New Orleans, oh boy, that's a whole different story. But
by the way,
this is always fun, man. This is always a blast.
Panaki says, you know that Arizona had one of the best basketball teams because they had the best strip clubs. Everybody used to go to TDs. It was $5 for a lapper back in the day in the 90s. And he just throws out there, again, we cannot confirm nor deny this, but he also adds on Tom Tolbert and Steve Kerr were regulars.
Oh!
Hey, I wouldn't put it past anybody. You know, there are certain times in your life where you stop going to strip clubs. In your 20s, when you're going to Final Fours, ain't one of them. So
that ain't it. No, you got a lot of testosterone. You're a red-blooded male human being. It's just you got to be pragmatic about things, folks.
Exactly.
And that look, I'm in my 40s. You're now 50, by the way. So we're kind of. I don't know. We got to kind of distance ourselves a little bit here for the moment, old man. I gotta, just. Look,
there's enough gray in your beard to where we might get confused. So don't you?
Fair. But no. All kidding aside, look, even we're a few years apart, and the strip club talk still rivets me. It perks me up in terms of attention. So, and if you're in your 20s, forget about it. It's not illegal either. So no judgment.
The vast majority of humans, if you offer them, you want to see somebody naked, they'll be like, yeah, sure. Show me the naked person. Like, we're not going to tell you if it's a man or woman. Would you like to see a naked person? Yes or no? Most people would be like, yeah, sure.
We are feeble. We are not hard to manipulate.
Sporticus with maybe the line of the day. DeAndre Ayton is the reason for at least two of those underscores. Oh! Well done, Sporticus. Well done. All right, here we go.
Matt Ishbia, owner of the Phoenix Suns, did not take into account the strip club variable in his decision-making process. Bradley Beal and that no trade clause, you brought him to Phoenix. That's on you, buddy.
Maybe it's the real reason why Durant didn't want to come home, because all you got here is the Gold Club.
Which is not to say that's a bad place, but I don't know if that's
it's a little pedestrian. Oh, well, that's not why. It's just... Again, I'm looking for bad choices. How many bad choices are being made in here? Okay. Anyway, today in history, are you ready? We start with some happy birthdays. Hey, you know what? I don't care what you think about her. She's a chick from San Francisco. Happy birthday, Nancy Pelosi. She's 85 years old.
Retired,
happy
please.
Birthday to Diana Ross of the Supremes. She is 81. Wow, as I told you earlier, happy birthday to Ike of Ike's. This guy. Happy birthday to that guy.
So you and Ike are just a day apart.
A day apart.
I'm sure that was a call. I'm sure. And look, there's a weird connection people have with that birthday thing. Like I was once upon a time in a fraternity, and one of my fraternity brothers, Dave, and I had to share the same birthday, and that's just always a permanent connection. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm sure that's a talking point every once in a while. I could be wrong.
Well, no, look, it's part of the reason. I think it's I don't know, it's that Aries mindset. You're super loyal, you're super trustworthy. You're pig-headed. You got a good attitude. You're stubborn. There's a lot of things going on. There's a reason why great leaders are forged in the furnace of the Aries zodiac sign. Anyways, we're all awesome. Get yourself.
No, it's all good. I love this. Dave Moss, by the way, my old fraternity brother from my Humboldt State days. I hope you're doing well in Austin, Texas. But yeah, totally with you, brother. It's the birthday thing. There is something special there in terms of connections.
It makes you go like, hey, we got something in common. Let's see. Happy birthday. He's no longer his rapper name, because he's 50 now, Juvenile. You're no longer
Juvenile. That's done. Retired.
Yeah, change your rap name to Senior. Juvenile is now 50. Martin Short, one of our greatest natural resources, is 75. John,
I love that show, by the way. The murder one. What murders in the only murders in the building?
You know,
Great
I haven't seen it yet. I got to see it. John Stockton, 63 years old, and Steven Tyler of Aerosmith, 77. 77.
Really?
Tyler, yeah.
77. Wow. Still going, man. I know he retired from the singing thing, but like from everything I see and hear, he's still got that life force going, if you know what I mean.
Yes, absolutely. Well, he also dresses like a Marin County lesbian.
Yes, he does. And he gets away with it. One of the only people who do that.
He looks like he might run a bookstore somewhere in Tiburon. Like he's...
It's incredible. He's so unique as an individual that anything he does, I'm just cool with, as long as it's not hurting someone else. He's incredible. Steven Tyler, bravo.
I love the origin of words.
Yes.
Origin of words. So today in 1812, in opposition to the redrawing of districts for an upcoming election, the Boston Gazette published a satiric cartoon that geographically transformed all of the voting districts in Boston into a fictional character that they called the gerrymanderer. And this is how the word gerrymandering entered the American lexicon.
Incredible.
Because of one political cartoon.
And one of the most corruptible manners in U.S. politics.
Totally.
It's literally the apex of how to rig a system. It's gerrymandering because some of these districts, the way they were drawn, it's asinine. Arnold, it started to get political here. Arnold Schwarzenegger, once upon a time, was California's governor. And it wasn't that long ago. And one of the things he did, which I thought was actually very productive here for our beautiful state, is he transferred the gerrymandering process to a non-partisan board, and they handle it. And gerrymandering has stopped being an issue here in the state of California. I suppose that depends on your perspective, but it's not a newsworthy item. It's not something that is a controversial issue here in California. It used to be. And so props to Arnold for doing that. I wish the other 49 states followed a similar process because it's rigged. And
you shouldn't be able to draw lines specifically around. It should just be perfect squares. They should all be symmetrical squares, and that's it. And take the results that you get from that square. Anyway, so
it makes sense.
The origin of word. You know what I just learned the other day in terms of word origins and why that phrase is what? Do you know why we call things in sports upsets?
No.
The great racehorse Man o' War only lost one race to a horse named Upset.
No shit.
And that's why we call them upsets.
I like that. So we call that after a horse.
It's after a horse, of course.
I like that. Good. I like me likey.
Today in 1827, German composer Ludwig von Beethoven died of cirrhosis of the liver at the age of 56.
I never watched Amadeus. Did you?
Oh, yes. You should. It's a phenomenal movie. Watch Amadeus. Right. Don't watch the 5-hour-long director cut. Watch the original theatrical cut. You don't need a 5-hour Amadeus, but the movie Amadeus is great. Great movie.
I need to sit down and watch that. I've heard that. I've heard great things, and it's based on Beethoven, correct?
Yeah, and the guy who plays Amadeus is also the guy who was Otter from fucking Animal House.
Otter.
Okay, so anyways, do you think when Amadeus died, or when Beethoven died, Ludwig von Beethoven? So by the way, Wolfgang Amadeus and Beethoven are two totally different people. But do you think when he died, like were teenage girls in 1827 like all upset about it? Was this the equivalent of,
good question,
a modern pop star dying young? Was the first time I ever smoked weed right in front of my dad is the day that Jerry Garcia died. I went out in the backyard and smoked a bowl. I'm like, Jerry Garcia's died. I got nothing to lose here. So I went and I smoked a bowl. And my dad was like, what happened? Why are you doing what's going on here? And I told him, and he came and smoked it with me. So you were what, like 18 or 19? I was just in college. Okay. Yeah. And Jerry Garcia died and I smoked a bowl irrepentantly in front of my parents. It was
Yeah.
like a protest. This was me being angry about something.
What did they do in response?
Again, my dad came out and smoked the bowl with me.
Oh, good. Okay, happy ending.
Yes.
I like
Yes.
it. Okay.
Yes. No, there was no happy ending involved. Anyway, when Beethoven died, like, did people lose their shit?
That's a great question. In 1827, we were nearly a century away from any form of instantaneous mass communication, meaning the only way messages even got spread was by word of mouth or by newspapers.
When you found out about it, was there some like when Kurt Cobain killed himself? Actually, I think Courtney Love had him murdered. But anyway,
I think it's a safe assumption. Yes.
Yeah, when Kurt Cobain died, like, there was a girl in my high school who literally like carved Kurt with a razor blade into her arm like some psychopath. And I'm like, was there some girl in 1827 writing, Ludwig?
I guess we're discussing the cultural impact of Beethoven's passing in 1827. It must have been, to a certain extent, profound. That's a great question. That's one of those things where a historian would be very valuable to give us some insights in terms of what the world was like in 1827. If anyone has a good grasp on that, my guess is yes, just because that was the only form of music at that point. I don't even know if like in 1827 were guitars even invented yet. I don't know. Maybe there was some.
I don't know.
So
it's rock and harpsichords.
Because, well, it's in terms of copyright, this is always an interesting topic for me. Like, anything published before 1923, I believe, is part of the public domain, right?
Yes,
you can use that music for anything you want. And it's why Beethoven's music, for example, is you hear it in a lot of movies. We could play it on this show right now, and we'd have complete legal freedom to do so because it was published before 1923. There are some great rock songs that originated back in like the late 1800s. This is like from Appalachian, like banjo players and just people playing around campfires. And the origins of these songwriters are mysterious. And I know there's like really old songs from like Irish culture. And again, this is where I don't know what the cultural impact of Beethoven was in 1827, but some great music was being published in the late 1800s. House of the Rising Sun, for example. Any of you can write that song, play it, record it, sell it. Part of the public domain because no one knows who wrote that song originally. Fascinating shit. Going back to Beethoven.
You're talking about like there is.
I'm going to guess yes, people were crying.
I'm
going to guess there was sadness. I just don't know. Like, I wish I knew what the portion of the population was that was, let's say, middle class. Like, was there a middle class back then? Because I know Beethoven appealed to the rich culture, the elite, if you will, the bourgeoisie.
No, I think the whole appeal of Beethoven was he's the first composer who like appealed to the normals.
Oh, see, and I'm naive. I need to watch Evidence.
Yeah, and I think Mozart was the same way too. He didn't write music for the king. He wrote music for the people, and it was more.
Yes, I would say yes, David. People cried. Then yes, I'd say people were probably shook up by that. What do you think?
I don't know. I wish I could have known what it was like. Like, I was in Paris the night that Prince died, and the entire city of Paris played Prince music and turned on whatever purple lights that they had. And that was the night that I really learned like the global power of music. I'm like, holy shit, we are not, you'd think this is what downtown Minneapolis looks like tonight. It was Paris. And I'm talking about 300 cars. Every single one of their radios is a Prince song. Every one of them. I couldn't believe it. It was amazing to be there for that. So, anyways, Ludwig.
A great topic because the power of music to me is beyond fascinating. It's intriguing. It's like I teach an intro to mass communication class, for example. It's one of the only classes still alive because students who major, for example, in business can take that as an elective. And so thankfully, there's still people enrolling in intro to mass communication. We spend a week on music and radio, like we talk about the fairness doctrine and what the world would be like if that wasn't revoked, and would it even matter? Because most of the media we consume today is digital; it's not under FCC regulation. But I digress. One of the weeks, again, is a discussion on radio and also music, and so we talk about music, and it is easily the most popular medium that exists. Like, you could, there are people out there, for example, you'll find who say, I don't watch movies. I don't watch film. I don't read books. I don't like sports. But you won't find people who say, I don't like music. You don't find it.
Yeah.
One student in my 12 years did say that. I don't listen to music. And I was kind of like mind blown by that. That's it. One student in 12 years that I've ever heard. I've never heard anyone in my life say they don't like music. Right. I think it's safe to say it's the most popular medium. What do you think?
By the way, no, I would agree. And I always thought radio was an incredibly powerful medium because you're not being distracted. It's you, and you're talking to one person directly. And
I loved it.
By the way, Rob C, I think speaks for a lot of people who just joined the chat. Didn't expect to hear a lot of Beethoven with curry for lunch. Yeah, I know. You came here expecting Warriors Weekly. We're at the end of the show. We're in today.
We save it for the end. We save it for the end for this reason.
Thank you, Rob C, as always. Tommy Huxley, by the way, saying Smoke on the Water is Beethoven's fifth backwards.
Shut up. That can't be true.
That
can't be true. If that is, wow. If that's true.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Is that what they're saying it is? What is?
I mean, let me Google that real fast. Hold on, Smoke. If that's true, hold on, Smoke on the Water, Beethoven.
Yeah. By the way, Otis has got it right here. Otis is like, shout out Rob Nen. Absolutely. Are we getting ready for the Nenth inning? Dun 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 dun.
So at least, and look, this is a Reddit thread, but it does say that the opening riffs, not the whole song,
well, of course,
the one you're playing,
yes,
was based on the 4-note motif of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony.
Hey,
I don't see backwards mentioned though, so I don't know.
Hey, all I can tell you is that clever borrows, genius steals. So there you go.
Oh, well, genius also creates, but yeah.
You would think.
So, well, you know what I think? Let me that's actually I like that post in terms of the discussion it opens up. I don't know if I can call someone who steals a genius. I might call them opportunistic. Like I don't like, to me, for example, Mark Zuckerberg. Like, Facebook was not an original idea. Like, he stole a concept, he fine-tuned it, he mastered it clearly, and he built an empire off it. But is he a genius for stealing an idea? I don't know. What do you think, Damon?
Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg's a fucking genius. I'm very comfortable saying that.
All right, then
very comfortable saying. I don't think I like him. I don't think I like what he did, but yeah, I'm not going to deny him. Look at it this way: what are you telling me, that the Winklevoss twins?
Well, even they stole it. I mean, the original. I mean, the original
idea comes from something. Look at it this way: it's where do you find your inspiration? What do you do with it? There you go. And I think it's an old, Mel. It's an old, God, what's his name?
Well, when you're thinking of that, Nathan Hyatt, well said. Evil genius, maybe. Nathan Hyatt in the chat. Well said.
Thank you. All right, we move along. We move along because today in 1916. Today in 1916.
I thought I called you.
Robert Stroud, who became the Birdman of Alcatraz, stabbed and killed a guard in Leavenworth prison, and that's what got him transferred to Alcatraz.
Interesting.
So you don't get to the transfer of Alcatraz without the murder that the Birdman, Robert Stroud, committed today at Leavenworth in 1916. Today in 1992, speaking of Leavenworth prison, I think he went to Marion prison, though. But
I still think it's crazy that Alcatraz was a thing once upon a time. I still trip out that was an actual prison. I don't know. They'd call me crazy, but that's a trip.
No, it's amazing that they looked at that island and they're like, well, what can we do with this? Prison. So we're right across in this gorgeous body of water in this incredible Golden Gate location. Look at where we are. I mean, what do we do with this fort that was part of the triangle of defense that we never even needed? We didn't fire a single fucking cannon. But what do we do with it? Prison. Bold move indeed.
And it's not even that far from the coast. Like, the idea of swimming from Alcatraz to San Francisco is actually not that crazy of a thought. It's not that impossible of a thing to do.
That's the ultimate, boy, that looks easier than I bet it is.
True. Yeah. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's very doable. I don't think it's as daunting of a thing as, and I think that's part of the reason why they shut it down. Ultimately, they kind of realized if you escape, you could just swim right over there and you're out.
I think it was a lot to keep open to begin with, right? I mean, you everything you got to ferry over there. That increases the cost of anything. It's like milk in Hawaii. It's like they had to bring it over here. That's why it's so expensive. But it was an old military prison that they just converted into like prison.
Right.
And it developed like, it was like Studio 54. It was the cool place.
And then Erwin Kwong, by the way. Oh yeah, thank you for the super sticker. But Erwin Kwong bringing up San Quentin, which I think is relevant too. It's still right there.
Right, exactly.
Right there.
Like San Quentin.
Like prime real estate, by the way. That is a prime. Like they sell that piece of land, they're getting built maybe what 100 million, I would guess, for that whole lot. I don't know, something crazy, but
yeah, no, it's like, well, how close to the beach does the prison need to be?
It's like prime real estate. It's like,
anyways,
like on one hand, you're going to San Quentin. Oh shit, I'm definitely getting raped. I'm definitely hating my life, but I get a view. The weather's nice. Like I'd rather be in San Quentin than a prison in Texas where they have no AC in the summer. You don't have to worry about AC in San Quentin.
Look, I think I'm push comes to shove, real world tough. I'm not prison tough.
No, I'm not claiming I am either.
I would not do well in prison. I know that. I know.
Fantastic system we have here. A deterrent.
I'm confident enough to know don't go to prison, Damon. Okay. Speaking of prison, today in 1992, heavyweight boxing champ Mike Tyson sentenced to 6 years following his rape conviction of Desiree Washington. This is the day in 1992 where Mike Tyson went to jail. How about that? Well, not jail, prison.
Yeah, and deservedly so, man. And look, he changed his life. More power to him, but that needs to be acknowledged. That is a part of his history as well.
Absolutely. Now, I would also say you probably shouldn't go to the heavyweight champ's room at 2 a.m, not expecting. What would you think you're going to go play Rummy 500? I mean, I think there were a lot of bad decisions made in that moment and in that evening, and no one is innocent. Anyway,
I always think back to like the Mike Tyson, like remember when he was married to Robin Gibbons and she did that interview and she's like just revealing to the world he's like violent and that was crazy. That whole period was insane to me. And you and I were both old enough to remember it. Yeah, Mike Tyson has had a lot of chapters in his life. I think that's safe to say.
What a comeback too, right? Like what a rebound. Like the Hangover, everyone likes him now. Well, I don't know if everyone likes him anymore after that whole Logan Paul fight thing, but I don't know. Anyway.
He's not getting paid to fight anymore. That's for sure. I mean, if someone does, I don't know who's paying because you're not getting a good product. He's washed.
Last thing I have for you. Last thing I have, because today in 1997, and you might remember this, today in 1997, after the 1995 discovery of the Hale-Bopp comet, 39 members of the Heaven Gates cult committed suicide to quickly join the aliens on the other side of the comet. Do you remember the signature moment from this cult's suicide, Cyrus?
No, but I remember that incident, but I don't remember what
I'm about to remind you, and you're gonna be like, oh, I did know that. Remember, they got pictures of they were like laying in bunk beds, and every single one of them was wearing black Nikes. Do you remember that?
Is there any reason, any symbolism there? Like, that's the shoes they happen to wear?
The entire cult decided on like black Nike Air Max 1s, and they're like, all right, that's the way we're going. Which I'm going to tell you right now means that their cult died in better sneakers than any cult that died in Adidas.
Speaking of kicks, and side note, by the cult thing is like you look at the history of it. The Manson cult. Which, side note, Quentin Tarantino, I don't think that's focused enough. The most recent movie he did, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, a lot of it is focused on the pandemonium of the Manson family and just the pure carnage that was following him everywhere he went. And it's wild that really happened. It's wild that the Jonestown massacre happened, right? That was a cult thing where all these people followed that guy to South America. Yeah, cult, it's insane, man. People can be brainwashed. That's why propaganda is dangerous. And it is regulated, contrary to what people think about free speech. There are some regulations for good reason. Sorry, go ahead.
And this is why you need to like and subscribe to both of these channels.
Hell yeah.
No propaganda, just, stuff we're pulling out of our ass really in the moment. None of this was designed to be propaganda.
That's true.
And I thank you all so very much for watching. Cyrus, we'll be back at it next Wednesday. The Warriors will play
Before we go real fast, I'm glad JJ Rader brought this up. I really wanted to ask you this because you brought up the Nikes and the Colt. What are your thoughts on the fact that Nike is reportedly just dying? Because like that, if Nike as a brand fades away, and I don't know if I'm going too far in terms of their demise, but I'm reading and hearing a lot of reports that Nike is not what they used to be in terms of a high-selling brand of shoes.
Well, I mean, what's taken over? What's taken? Hoka taken over? Like
that I don't know, but I do know that there is a pushback in terms. And again, trends mean everything in this industry, right? It is kind of crazy if you think about the fact that Nike has had longevity as a fashion brand. That is kind of crazy. Decades. We're talking like 40, 50 years here, but right now, they're not the cool kids. That's what I'm hearing.
What is the cool kids?
I don't know. I don't have an answer for you there. But what I do know, at least in terms of what I'm hearing and reading, is that Nike ain't it. And I was thinking about that because they so heavily influence the NBA and maybe to a greater extent the other sports as well. But the NBA in particular is so reliant on these shoe brands that the thought of Nike potentially like collapsing as a brand, because again, if people aren't buying them, that's it. It is that fickle. And I'm just fascinated by this because I don't know what the ramifications would be.
So I got to tell you, you're dropping information on me that I wasn't even aware of. The only
I just learned this.
I've seen of Nike and how it does business is the total flop that they put out being the official uniformer of now Major League Baseball. I know that Nike has been bashed for coming up with, baseball pants and I can see your dong, and
if that is true,
that was unnecessary. Like I shouldn't have had to have seen like 5 shortstop scrotums before I thought to myself, these pants could be a little thicker.
I thought there were cups in baseball, man.
No one wears cups anymore. Just balls.
just free fall and free balling.
Yeah. But I had no idea that Nike was in any sort of like losing market share.
That's what
I'm going to Google a little something and I'll be more prepared to talk about this.
Because, and again, my interest is largely because of how much their finances are tied into the NBA. And like, that is LeBron's power is Nike. I mean, the Jordan brand, my God. I mean, Jordan made Nike pretty much. I mean, Nike was mostly a runner's shoe brand before Jordan got involved. I mean, that movie with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon was fantastic covering it.
Really good movie.
It
was. What was it called? Air? What was
Air, yes. Yeah. Okay. Air. Great movie. Strong recommend. Yeah, I'm just curious because, we're talking about an NBA. Like, we're entering a fascinating kind of scary period in human history, if you will, where institutions are collapsing everywhere. Kind of beneficial for folks like us, Damon, because we're independent, right? And the authenticity we provide, I hope, is part of what the appeal is. But institutions are dying, man. People are done with organizations that have hierarchies, that provide privilege, that where only select few can get the jobs that so many people want. People are done with that. And institutions all around us are just fading away, man. And Nike could be another poster child for that.
That's why you got to come here. That's why you got to like and subscribe, because not only do you get Warriors coverage, you might get tangents about Ludwig van Beethoven and dongs. So, it's good stuff.
It is. I think so. I hope so.
Like and subscribe. Hey, thanks to everyone for watching today. A lot of fun. We went long. Why wouldn't we?
Happy belated birthday to you one more time.
Thank you, buddy.
50 is a big number. Happy 30,000 subscribers to you. That is another big number. 2 very different yet very profoundly meaningful numbers for you. Congratulations, brother. Special moment in your life.
And again, look, all it takes is just keep swimming. You'll get there too. Everyone gets
grind. You can't stop grinding.
You're great, man. You're great at what you do. Thanks to everyone for watching us. And please do remember that sports do not build character. They reveal it. And like that, they are gone.